The benefits of having the kitchen in the middle of the household, the aromas, the smells, there's always residents coming in and out. Sometimes they'll sit in the middle of the kitchen just to see, okay, what is he doing? What is he making? Smell and seeing somebody cooking that meal goes a long way, especially with the residents. Some are used to that home cooked meal. Some are used to being able to hear mom, pop, making them breakfast in the morning. So even sometimes it's the sound, some people just hear that sound, that sausage hitting the pan. But you want them to feel like this is their home. You don't want to tell them, no, you can't go in there. If you see a resident standing at the refrigerator and they're taking 5-10 minutes, most times I can tell what they want. It's a drink, it's a yogurt. So just helping them get what they need out of the refrigerator.
Sharing meals in a dining room with other residents encourages social interaction between staff and residents alike.
You don't want a resident sitting back to back, or, you want them all to be engaged. You want them all to, while they're eating their meals, you want them to talk. Whatever it can be. They might be talking about the house they used to have, but you want that interaction. You never want a resident to feel like they're sitting on their own.
Social interaction during mealtime encourages most people to eat and drink more, including older adults with dementia.
You want the music to be low enough where the residents can hear it, but not high enough where it's distracting them from their meal plates. Turning off TVs will help too. I know some residents like watching TV while they eat and others don't. Trying to get their eye focused on their plate and only their plate, and making sure that they're engaged with the other residents. You want everything to look neat and not distracting. You don't want too much on the tables. If there's too much, then they just get distracted with the stuff on the tables. Well, I have seen residents that play with the scratches on the table. That'll distract them. You can take a placemat and cover up the scratches. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You can even go over there with a clean cloth or something and let the resident know, hey, look, we try to get it as best as we can. We cleaned it up and it's fine. And you can distract them a little bit away from the scratches. When a new resident comes in, we'll get their food plan to see what they like, and it does help to have it handy. There's been numerous times that a resident wasn't eating. I can go in that book and say, well, hey, they like A, B, and C, and I can go and grab it for them. You can do different activities with the residents, pull a simple recipe like guacamole, or have them help you with cookies. Something small that they can do. They can't handle knives or anything, but you can have them rip up lettuce for the salads. Have them put on gloves. Let them feel like they're helping you do something in the kitchen. And it can be as small as letting them fold the towels. I know a few residents that have loved folding the towels and getting the table set up. Some residents see better with the color plates versus us having a plain white plate. The plates, you want them to be colorful, but you don't want too much on the plate. You do it according to the resident. So if it's a male resident, you might put a little bit more on those plates. If it's a female resident, you might put maybe 1 scoop of mashed potatoes. You might put a little bit of gravy. You want it presentable, but you don't want it overpowering. Having separate plates as far as having the different meals, so our appetizer, your entree, and your desserts, that keeps the confusion down for the residents. It's not so much clutter on their plates. When you start with a simple salad, they're just focused on that salad. They're not focused on anything else but that salad. And then you can go and cue them like, okay, we're gonna move on to our entrees. Then you bring the 2 different plates, 1 silverware food and then the 1 finger food. And then you go from there. You see which one they like.
Lack of color distinct items on the same plate can confuse older adults and prevent them from knowing what they are eating. Place light-colored items in different bowls or plates.
Regular plates are better over disposable plates to make it feel like a home-like setting. You want to make sure the residents don't feel like they're in a picnic somewhere. Garnishes are not recommended on plates. They're not edible. Some residents may eat the garnish. So you want to take that choking hazard away from them. It helps to cut up their meat to help them, but don't cut it up so much where they can't cut it up themselves. Where they can just cut it up enough where they can use a fork to cut it up the rest of the way.
With chopped meats, making them really moist is a good suggestion. So if a person's more agreeable to like a sandwich type item, then you can take those chopped meats and either mix them with, say, like a condiment item like mayonnaise, make it into a sandwich, and then a lot of times they'll eat that food item a lot better than they would just maybe looking at the chopped meat on their plate. just as it occurs. You can put it into like a gravy, and then again put that over like mashed potatoes or rice or a bread item and make it presented that way. You can present it as a soup or a stew, to where the things are small little pieces, and that way a lot of times they'll consume it better because it's kind of mixed in with vegetables or other food items. If a person's just really adverse to eating the puree food, but they really need that texture, then you can present them foods that, like mashed potatoes, is naturally a puree item. Hot cereals, eggs, they can usually handle pretty well too, just as they are. But then you can also take the vegetables and the meats, and you can make those into a cream soup, to where it would be something that they would accept maybe better than the individual portions of just the meat and the vegetable pureed. With the puree items, it gets a little bit more difficult sometimes to camouflage those, but there are some products that come already shaped and formed to where it looks like the piece of meat, or it looks like some carrots, whole baby carrots together, or pieces of kernels of corn. So sometimes that presentation works better. You could also take things like, the fruits and ice cream and make a milkshake and try to get foods in that way, to where, again, it's recognized as a milkshake, which is something much more acceptable than maybe the pureed fruit itself. So that's a good way to try to get the calories and the protein in without actually presenting it as the individual food items.
Some residents do better with finger foods. When you look at a plate, some residents do forget what a silverware, what a fork, and they're trying to eat with their hands. So for those residents, it's better to give them finger foods. And it can be anything from chicken tenders to pimento cheese sandwiches, grilled cheese sandwiches, something that they can hold in their hand, but cut it down where they can just bite-sized pieces. Scramble their eggs. You can either scramble their eggs, or you can do a sunny side up. And if they don't like the yolk runny, you can make it on one side, flip it over, and cook it a little bit longer. In order to make eggs a finger food, you can make egg muffin. Take a biscuit, frozen biscuit, you put it in a muffin pan. Depending on your family size, you can use a 6 pan, or for us, we use a 24 pan. And you unfreeze it, but not all the way. So you want it thawed out, but not thawed out all the way where you can't work with it. And then you literally take the one half of the biscuit and you put it in the hole, and you fill it with eggs, cheese, whatever you want. Eggs, cheese, sausage. If you like peppers, you can throw peppers, onions. So you're pretty much getting an omelet in a biscuit.
We like to set up sandwiches so they're easier to eat with thinner bread. But we want to make it easy for them to pick up, easy for them to fit it in their mouth. We don't use bulky rolls because they're hard to bite into. They're hard to chew, like you don't want this big, huge Italian sub. We don't really use a lot of lettuce and tomato, maybe sometimes on the side, and if that particular resident likes, they can put it onto their sandwich. We always make sure that we put the condiment on the sandwich for them as well. The mayonnaise, mustard, ketchup, what have you, because a lot of them are past the stage of even knowing that they want a condiment on there. Soups are presented in a coffee mug so that they can easily pick it up and sip on it.
Setting up the plate, such as having the biscuit, adding jam, and placing the spoon in the oatmeal, makes it easier for those with dementia to eat independently.
What's important during mealtime and when residents are consuming food is to allow ample amount of time for their individual needs. Some people eat fast, some people eat slow, and we want to pace the meal to how the resident likes to eat. This can be done by placing one course at a time in front of a resident. So you can start with the salad, and when the resident is done eating the salad, then we can remove the salad and then present them with the 2 options for the entree and place one of those down in front of them, and then continue on to dessert. After they're done eating the entree, we'll remove the entree and provide them with the dessert.